Oregon football just landed another big commitment in the 2024 recruiting class, and we're going to be breaking it all down on today's episode of the Ducks Dish podcast. And we're back like we never left. Oregon fans, what's going on? How we living? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast, a breaking news episode of the podcast. Got some big news to get into today with today's episode. But just in case you're new here, I'm your host, Max Torres, publisher and lead editor of Ducks Digest, covering the Oregon Ducks over on Fan Nation, part of the Sports Illustrated Network. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to tune in, whether you're listening to us on your podcasting platform of choice or watching along on YouTube at Oregon Football Max Torres. Greatly appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to talk some ball. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share the Ducks Dish podcast with your friends, with your family, and with other Duck fans. Greatly appreciate your support. Big news coming in today as 2024 Washington, D.C. St. John's College High School running back Dejon Riggs has announced his commitment to the Oregon Ducks. He is the first running back pledge for Oregon here in the 2024 recruiting class, announcing his commitment to Oregon over competing offers from schools like Pitt, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and a handful of other programs. I believe the in-state Maryland Terrapins were also in the running, the Terps. I always get their mascot messed up in my head, but another big addition for Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks here in the 2024 recruiting class, going all the way across the country to add another talented ball carrier in this 2024 class. So we're going to be breaking down what this commitment means for the Ducks in the 2024 recruiting class, and then get into a little bit about what's next. Let's throw on some film to start things off and talk a little bit about what kind of back the Ducks are getting in Dejon Riggs. So Dejon Riggs is he's listed at 6 foot, 200 pounds on 247. But when I talked to him, he told me he was 5'10", 199 pounds. So that's kind of the frame that we're working with here for Dejon Riggs. He is rated a 3-star prospect by the 247 Sports Composite, a .8726. The same system ranks him the number 767 player nationally, the number 58 running back, and the number 4 player in the Washington, D.C. area. So when we're looking at Riggs on film, what kind of stands out about him? What makes him special as a running back? I think part of what makes him special is the burst that he has out of the backfield. I think that's part of what makes him really special, just the way that he hits the hole. But he also isn't so much of a one cut type of back where he's limited in that regard. I think he still has a lot of wiggle to his game. I really like the agility that he has in his skill set that allows him to navigate through a lot of traffic, as you see right there. Look at all the cutbacks, just bouncing off of a bunch of bodies to get a touchdown, to put 6 points up on the board. And I think that is a special trait to have in a running back, right? A guy who can improvise, a guy who can create for himself, even when blocks aren't there. But it's important to find that balance, because you don't want an east-west running back. You definitely want more north-south, and I think that's what Riggs is. You see him getting used in a lot of different ways as a running back at St. John's. Plays that traditional running back role. He gets flexed out in the slot as well, and he also runs some wildcat as the wildcat back for St. John's. So he can do a little bit of everything, and he also has some really solid top end speed, as you can see on tape. Lots of home run, long touchdown runs are on display. So he's a guy that can hit the hole, but he can also get away from the defense. You don't see him getting caught from behind a whole lot, and I think that's something that you absolutely want in your running back. And you see the lower body strength there, the body control on display for Riggs, the ability to stay upright and just keep those legs churning to keep advancing and gaining yards. That's a guy, that's something that for a fact with Riggs you're getting is someone who's going to battle for every yard. which is really important when you're looking for your running back of the future. So I think that versatility is absolutely a big part of his game. When I interviewed him for this commitment story, he told me that he would describe his game as a blend of Deebo Samuel of the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey also on the Niners, and then as well a little bit of LaShawn McCoy. So he's got some shake in his game as well. So that's a pretty unique blend of players and play styles for Dejon Riggs that I think should make Oregon fans excited. So what does this commitment mean for Oregon? They get their first running back here in the 2024 recruiting class. Comes at a really good time as they continue to start the month of July off with a bang. On Saturday, they landed a commitment from 2024 Pinson, Alabama, Clay Chalkville offensive tackle Jaquan McRoy. I'll have a podcast out on his commitment in the near future, but 2 commitments to start off the month of July for Dan Lanning and the Ducks, and that is a great way to start the month. I think that's also important when you're thinking about how they're chasing USC now. USC just went on an absolute tear in the month of June, and they are the top Pac-12 school in the 2024 class when it comes to recruiting rankings. So they're trying to get back to the top of the Pac-12 rankings, of course. And this comes at a position of need for Oregon. Running back was the only position that the Ducks didn't have a commitment at on the offensive side of the ball in the 24 cycle. You just saw Christian Clark from Phoenix, Arizona Mountain Point High School announce his commitment to Texas last month. That was a top target for Oregon at running back. And now they're able to convert off of a recent official visit for Riggs as well. So they're getting these guys on campus for official visits, which, they only have so many. So it means that you really have to do your due diligence, do your research, do your homework to, knock it out of the park on these official visits. And that's pretty much what they did with Dejon Riggs. He was telling me that his relationship with Coach Carlos Locklin is a big part of the reason that he chose Oregon. Just talking about how he thinks Locklin can get him where he needs to be on the field and in life, help him become a good father and just a good person and win off the field and just be a successful person. So I think that's a little bit more about what went into this decision for Riggs. And then another big win for Carlos Locklin, who's now landed 4 running backs since he's been on Dan Lanning's staff at Oregon. You got Jordan James, who he flipped from Georgia. Jordan James, who he flipped from Georgia. He's from Tennessee. That was the 2022 running back that saw a pretty decent amount of snaps in his true freshman season with the Ducks. Then you also have Dante Dowdell out of Mississippi in the 23 class and Jaden Lamar out of Washington, who Carlos Locklin flipped from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish late in the cycle. So Carlos Locklin continues to establish himself as one of the best recruiters on this staff for Oregon. He likes to call himself an elite relationship builder, and that's certainly the case here with Dejon Dink Riggs. As you'll see, that's also his nickname that he likes to go by is Dink Riggs. So he's a special talent that I think really has a chance to make some noise at Oregon. And he's also a need for the Ducks because Bucky Irving is more than likely going to the NFL after this next season. And then you also have Noah Whittington as a guy who has the chance and the choice, the option to go to the NFL after the 2023 season as well. So the Ducks could be in line to lose their top 2 running backs on the roster if all goes according to plan. They have strong seasons in 2023. That's what you want to do. You want to get the guys to Oregon. They do their thing. They play well, and then they get developed and go to the NFL. That's just the natural progression of the way you want things. That said, there are more running backs still on the big board for Oregon. And one name in particular stands out above all of the others, and that's Santa Ana Mater Dei running back Nate Frazier. Nate Frazier took his official visit to Oregon in June, also took an official visit to Alabama, and then he also took unofficials, I believe, to Georgia and Texas A&M. But for my beat on this, my pulse on this recruitment for Nate Frazier, that's an Oregon versus Georgia battle here in the 2024 recruiting class. So the Ducks are going to have to do something really special, and try to close strong with Nate Frazier out of Mater Dei, pretty much the best all-purpose back in the country and one of the very best on the West Coast. My feel right now is that he's leaning towards Georgia. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I think some of the intel that I've gotten is that Georgia may have the lead right now. But Frazier hasn't announced an official commitment date just yet. but we know that it's looking like it's down to Oregon and Georgia for Nate Frazier. Also have Jason Brown out of Seattle, Washington, O'Day High School as another back the Ducks are going after in this class. He's kind of taking the recruiting process slow, took his first official visit to Michigan State to close out the month of June. But he's in no rush to, finish the recruiting process. So we'll see how timelines could factor in to the running back picture for Oregon here in the 2024 recruiting class. Another note for Dejon Riggs' commitment, he is the latest in a growing pipeline for Oregon to the DMV area. And we're talking about DMV, we're talking about District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Oregon already has 2 commitments from the DMV before Riggs joined the fold in St. Francis Academy quarterback Michael Van Buren, who is an All-American, as well as St. Francis Academy cornerback Ife Obadegwu, who is another All-American for Oregon in the 2024 recruiting class. So usually the way things go, if you followed recruiting for a while, the further east you push, the harder things get on the recruiting trail, kind of the lower your chances go. But Oregon has really made a push in Southern California, in Texas, and now we're seeing the 3rd commitment out of the DMV area. So that is a talent-rich area that the Ducks are going to continue swinging at and taking their shots for guys out of that area. Nicholas Harbor out of the DC area in 2023. The Ducks almost got him, but South Carolina narrowly edged them out in that recruitment. So I think I'm really excited to see some of those guys pan out of the DMV area. Riggs, also important to mention, he goes to St. John's, where the Ducks found 2023 cornerback signee Colin Gill. So they're seeing some continuity there, and that's one of the better schools in the DMV area. I want to say that they're a top 25 program according to Max Preps, but I'm not 100% sure. So I got to make sure I look back at those rankings and see where they are slated. So that's another important note to mention, is that they're continuing to grow their presence in the DMV area and kind of have these new pockets throughout the country. But I really like this commitment, and it's one that the Ducks needed. They needed to get the ball rolling a little bit more at running back. I think that if Nate Frazier does want to hop in, they're going to have a spot for him. I'm not sure how I feel about Jason Brown in the state, as so far as if he has a spot versus Nate Frazier having a spot. I think Nate Frazier has been at the very top of Oregon's running back board. That's the guy Carlos Laughlin wants this cycle. So I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say, that I think he's the priority guy moving forward for the Ducks at running back. What else can we say about this commitment and kind of just what's going on right now for Oregon football recruiting? I mean, the Jaquan McCrory commitment was really big. I said when Alik Terry got hired that I thought I had no doubts he was going to be a phenomenal recruiter. He already knew how to recruit for Oregon during his time on staff under Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal before he coached at Hawaii and coached at the NFL level for the Minnesota Vikings. Now that Riggs is in the fold, the attention, pretty much all of Oregon's recruiting attention, now moves forward to 2024 Tucson, Arizona, Sal Point Catholic edge rusher, 5-star edge rusher Elijah Rushing. Elijah Rushing has set a commitment date for Thursday, July 6th, and he will be making his college commitment from a top 4 of Oregon, Arizona, Notre Dame, and Tennessee. I have my prediction on Oregon for Elijah Rushing, but boy, is this a tough battle for Oregon right now. They are neck and neck with Arizona as Jed Fish really tries to assert himself as a recruiter. It's important to note that Oregon has been in recruiting battles with Arizona in the not so recent past. In the recent past is kind of what I meant to say. That really didn't come out right. We're talking about 2022 Anaheim, California Servite wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan, who flipped his commitment from Oregon to Arizona on the heels of Mario Cristobal's departure from Oregon to Miami. Brian McClendon was the interim head coach, but I think I speak for most people that knew he was going to be out the door, as everyone kind of left for the most part from that Oregon coaching staff under Mario Cristobal. So it's a comparison, but I don't think that they're on the same level, because Tetairoa McMillan already had 2 of his Servite teammates and his quarterback, Noah Fafita, committed to Arizona in the 2022 recruiting class. So I think this is a different situation. But all that said, Elijah Rushing is a Tucson guy, a Tucson native, so he has the chance to be a hometown hero. for the Wildcats program. And then I think this is just a great opportunity. He has the chance to play with his brother, Cruz Rushing, the defensive back who transferred from Florida to Arizona. So they can kind of keep the family together. And, the opportunity to play with your brother is a special opportunity. But all that said, I think Oregon is still in a really good spot, and they feel good about their chances for Elijah Rushing, the Dan Lanning, the Tosh Lupoi factor, the Arizona ties on the roster, the Arizona ties on the coaching staff, and just him being a priority for Dan Lanning from the jump. From the second Dan Lanning got hired at Oregon, that was a recruit that he identified and said, this is a guy I have to get if I want to take my defense to the next level. So I still feel confident that Oregon can pull it off, but that is a really close battle. And I think that people, I don't want to repeat what I think it was either Steve Wiltfong or Blair Angulo said, that they're not giving Arizona enough credit. I don't want to be the one that's saying that, but I tried to report, earlier on in the past that Arizona does have a really good chance in this recruitment, and I think that's still the case. So we'll see as things get closer to a decision for Elijah Rushing, but that's what things are looking like. Dejon Riggs out of Washington, D.C., St. John's, is going to be a running back for Carlos Lachlan and the Ducks. He's going to play his college ball at the University of Oregon. Another big pickup for Dan Lanning and the Ducks here on the recruiting trail in the 2024 class. A little bit of a quicker episode today, but wanted to get this one out for you guys. So do me a favor, if you haven't already, tap in with me, lock in with me on Twitter and social media, and Twitter and Instagram. I am at Torres Sports. You can read all my latest recruiting coverage and writing over on ducksdigest.com. And then you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Oregon Football Max Torres. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. And then share the show. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this one. It's been a little bit since I've been on a pod, so I'm a little bit rusty. But appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to talk some Ducks with me, talk some recruiting. Thank you so much. And until next time, you've been listening to another episode of the Ducks Dish Podcast.